Holy shit. Somebody found this. I'm so happy. So I was getting back into Magic at the same time that I was getting into Taylor Swift's discography. So I was like, I wanted to give one of the two color combos to an album. And I ended up making the combos. Like I know which album is which color combo, but I never got like all I never got all like the cards together, like for like to kind of make a deck for all of them. I never actually did that. I couldn't tell you like what specific cards go to which Taylor Swift album or anything like that, but I can tell you which album I matched up which clan to. I made that video in 2023, so it's only the first 10 albums from debut to Midnight's, no torture departments, and definitely no showgirl. Fuck showgirl. I'm reasonably certain I actually did make this video. Azorius was 1989. I thought that the color scheme would have been a really, really good choice for it. And I also think that 1989 was just a really controlled version of Taylor Swift's image. And Azorius is the control combo. So I feel like that would have, like, I feel like it matches in a way that this is like one of the closest ones to me, where it's like 1989 is a very controlled era where Taylor was very much like, this is who I am, this is who I'm trying to be, even if that wasn't really who she was in the end, because I know 1989 was not necessarily a great mental health time for Taylor. Midnight's was Demir because this is also like the dark blue color. So I thought that like Demir being blue and black, it would have made sense that they make dark blue together. So Midnight's. I also think that something that Demir and Midnight's have in common, especially with the benefit of hindsight and a couple of more albums to contextualize this whole album that turned out to be a breakup album after all, is like sleight of hand, where there are things on this album on Midnight's that you would think they're like about Joe or whatever, but their relationship was kind of falling apart at this point, and some of these songs are actually about Maddie, and then you're just kind of like, oh, she was tricking us. She was tricking us here. There's also a little bit of trickery because I know like the aesthetics of the album are very 70s, and then you listen to the album and it's just like dreamy synth pop, and you're just like, what the hell am I doing here? So yeah, Midnight's Demir, I thought that this is also a pretty solid choice. Reputation is Rakdos. Very look what you made me do energy. I know deep down this is like a happy love album, but the way that it was presented to the world, it's very like Rakdos. Like she's like the bad guy and all that. The old Taylor can come to the phone right now. Here lies Taylor Swift's reputation. Like it's very, I feel like that's very Rakdos coded, even if the back half of the album is all just lovey-dovey Joe Alwyn songs. Speak Now is Gruel, and I feel like I don't remember why I made this the color combination. I think like the best reasoning that I can come up for it right now is that Speak Now is like the solo album where like she wrote everything herself, and I feel like that there is a whole thing about like stretching yourself and growth, and green is a growth oriented color. But then there's also like some angry impulsive shit on here where it's like Better Than Revenge and Haunted and stuff like that. Speak Now, I feel like Speak Now is very like like if you said Speak Now, Speak Now isn't really like my thing, so I couldn't tell you like specific songs on here that I feel like have like the gruel or coded gruel, but I do think that this fits. I do think that it's a little bit murkier than like Azorius 1989, but I do think that this works. Selesnya is fearless to me. I feel like that this is, you know, life gain, growth, good, very like good witch coded stuff happening here. I feel like fearless Selesnya, I feel like it really works. And maybe it's just me as a girly who plays a lot of Demir. I feel like Selesnya is a very straightforward way to play. There's a lot of tokens, a lot of counters, a lot of life gain, things like that. I feel like Fearless is also very straightforward. It is kind of like like an introduction to Taylor Swift, the fledgling pop star, in a way that the debut album is. The debut album, from what I understand, it's like a really like country album, and Fearless is also like a very country album, but it's also like mainstream in a way that the debut album probably wasn't. I'm saying that it wasn't mainstream. Meanwhile, one of my first illegally downloaded tracks ever was Teardrops on My Guitars, and I wasn't a Swiftie, so who the fuck am I kidding? Orzhov was red, but I don't really remember why. There might have been the little joke about like what's black and white and red all over, so Orzhov. But maybe like I could argue that there's like I couldn't tell you honestly. Like I really couldn't tell you why. Lover to me was Is It, and this one I do know why. I feel like because Lover was kind of like a chaotic era. I'm saying this as someone who like wasn't really plugged into the Swiftie fandom during the Lover era, but was sort of aware of what was going on. This kind of seems like it was like like a strange way to like kind of right the ship after Reputation, and she was just kind of like, I'm just gonna do like whatever weird shit I want. And I feel like Is It is a weird color combo in a way that Lover is kind of like a weird blip that kind of smoothed out with it definitely smoothed out with the Eras Tour and Cruel Summer becoming a #1 hit and all of that. But I remember in 2019, like it was not necessarily like Lover wasn't necessarily like the cool girl era. Like this was like, she was doing some interesting things that were kind of flopping. Not that I think that Is It is like a flop color combo or anything. I don't play Is It, but if anything, I am super jealous of people who can. I feel like that's a lot of different mechanics and things like that, but I don't necessarily have the patience to play. But I feel like Is It is weird and it does weird things in a way that Lover does weird things. Folklore is Golgari to me, especially connecting it to Fearless, because I feel like Folklore is kind of like the Fearless of Taylor's post Big Machine era. Whereas if Selesnya is doing like very straightforward things where like counters and tokens and life gain and all that stuff, and that's Fearless, Folklore is doing something a little different with Fiction, which in hindsight, when I made this, we didn't know that Folklore wasn't fiction. It was just like the ravings of a girly who wanted to write Maddie Healy songs, but was in a long-term relationship and couldn't cop to all this shit. So like maybe I need to reevaluate Folklore being Golgari, but I also feel like Golgari is one of those colors that does some pretty like esoteric shit, and I feel like Folklore out of all of the albums is one of the most esoteric, so I think that this also matches. But and this is probably like, this is in my top 3 favorite albums, and I'm just like, damn, like I liked that she was doing fiction and it wasn't fictional. The fuck. Debut is Boros to me. This was one, I feel like this is one of those things where I was like Red, where I felt like this was, it kind of connects with Fearless and Speak Now, like kind of the Naya colors, like red, green, white, where they're doing like very straightforward things. Like this is Taylor, this is her introduction to the world, and Boros is very like, these are soldiers fight. Like it's very like straightforward. This is Taylor Swift's introduction to the world, and I feel like Boros might actually be like an introductory color set for some people. Not me, but like maybe some other people. Maybe they can see the connection here. Evermore is Simic to me, and I think that I was connecting Folklore, Evermore, and Midnights the same way that I was connecting Debut, Fearless, Speak Now, where they're like trilogies in a way, where they are kind of like encapsulating a part of Taylor's life at this point. And I feel like those albums, like Debut, Fearless, Speak Now, they encapsulated Taylor Swift's sound up until that point, until such time as Red changed it. And then Folklore, Evermore, Midnights, they were solidifying kind of a more folky sound for Taylor until and then the Torture Poets department as well, but we're kind of pretending that doesn't exist right now because I started this in 2023 and there are only 10 clans. But I think if Debut, Fearless, and Speak Now are kind of like the Naya colors, then Folklore, Evermore, Midnights are the Sultai colors. And this is like another thing where I'm like, I love this album so much, but then I'm just like, were we really sitting here and we're like, oh no, like she's making like this esoteric fictional shit, and then you're simping over Maddie Healy? Like the fuck, Taylor, get off the floor! The plan was to do 10 videos with the 10 Taylor Swift albums, but I never got around to it. I got really into Akatar, and I never got around to it. I think some of these placements are really like 2023 coded, because now it's 2026 and we know things about what was happening with some of these albums that probably would have affected how I would have placed them, or I would have swapped a couple out for the Torture Poets department and Showgirl, which, oh my god, again, fuck Showgirl. But yeah, that's the update. I made all of like the little collages, like the clan and then the album cover. I made all of those, and then I made the video for 1989. It's floating around somewhere, and then I never picked this up again. But I'm so glad that I saw this, because I now remembered that I made this and I still had all the pictures, and I'm glad I get to talk about it. It's a very like specific Venn diagram where it's like there's 2 circles in the Venn diagram, and then there's like a little sliver of people who like both Magic the Gathering and Taylor Swift, and I am in that little sliver.